And then the last one is a fun one. It's another location. If you want to search for hotels in Honolulu, Hawaii while you're in Bowling Green, you can. Press another location, type in 96815, which is the zip code for Honolulu, and it will give you a list of POIs in that area, which is useful if you're planning a trip or if you're looking for a destination that's in another town but you're not under route guidance to that destination. Does that make sense to everyone? Everybody use that already? Did anybody know it was there? All right. Yes? Of course. And I apologize for that. If you have the map screen up like is normally displayed, if you tap the map screen, just a momentary touch, this menu, not this menu, bad Paul, this menu will appear if you, no, I'm sorry, destination from the main screen, and then this from destination. So I think I have. Confusing, isn't it? Well, I deserve that. Make sure he gets 2 CDs. Oh, that was good. Thank you for that. That was excellent. I will fix that for Saturday, I promise you. Tap the map screen. Menu will appear. The menu that's going to appear is zoom in, zoom out, reset, destination, menu. No, not, I mean, I'm trying to walk you through from the very beginning. If you're driving along and your map is displaying under route guidance or not, it's irrelevant. If your map is up, your vehicle position is showing. Momentary tap on the screen will bring up the first level menu. The first level menu starts with zoom out, zoom in, reset, destination. Press destination. This is the next menu that you will see. And we're working now with the POIs. So press the POI key. And that will give you this. Once you've touched the POI, and right now it's POIs along route, but that was changed by the search near. So that'll present you with the category list. And when you type on search near, that will make these modifications. The tutorial in the CD actually has a very detailed walkthrough of this for sure. And let's go sit separate afterwards. By all means, find me. And that's open to anybody. If anybody has any questions after we walk out of here, please don't hesitate to find me. Kathy, yes?
Go back one screen.
I will.
I think part of what he's asking is when you're looking at the POIs, the way you get to select whether you want near where your route or whether
okay.
sort at the top there.
Yes, thank you, and I didn't understand that. The first button you'll want to press is search near. If you want to change from search near to search along route to search at destination, was that actually the question? Part of it, okay. That's this button here. That's identifying that right now it's searching for POIs nearby your location. However, if you're under route guidance, nearby is a relative term. If you don't want to get off an exit, if you don't want to go 5 miles off an exit, someplace that you're not familiar with, I prefer to use the along route because then it's going to be within a mile of your trip routing. And once you press that search near button, this is the select search area screen that will show up. There's 2 up here because there's 2 different choices. If you are under route guidance, you have 4 choices. And if you're not under route guidance, you only have these 2, because obviously if you're not under route guidance, you have neither a route to be along nor a destination to be near. So it drops those from the menu if you're just viewing the map.
Does it remain on a long route?
It does not.
So every time I
Yep, every time you do this search, it wants you to tell it how you want it to search. It always assumes nearby until you refine it and give it another piece of information. How many people knew you could just do this? If you don't have to have a name of a place that you're going to, and you don't have a destination of any place that you want to go to. If you feel like pizza, type in pizza. It's going to find all the pizza places within up to 100 miles from you. So if you really need pizza, that's the way to get there. Yes?
Once you've selected, let's just say you want to know as you're driving where there's refueling stations along your route.
Yep.
Will those icons transfer to the main map when you're just in map mode?
Absolutely, yeah. If you're displaying POIs, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that, I think on the next slide, next one or two. If you're displaying POIs, which I strongly encourage people to do, people tend to turn off POIs because they say that it clutters the map screen and I can't see where I'm going and I can't see the streets. I'm going to show you a little trick that I recommend. But the POIs in proximity based on your map scale will always display. So if it's on this list and the categories that you've selected for display are there, it's going to display. Otherwise, you go through the POI button. The first thing that comes up is the list of POI categories. You would type on fuel, and then you would refine that to a long route by pressing the search near button. And then if your XM subscription is valid, it'll actually give you prices by gas station as long as they've reported them. Yes?
I had an 11 Grand Sport.
Yes.
I had a factory now.
Yes.
And I had OnStar.
Yes.
Okay. At that point in time, if I called OnStar for help with directions, it gave me turn by turn audio only. It wouldn't show up. Now with the I've got C7Z06. Now if I call OnStar and tell them where I'm going to go, when they download it, it comes up on here.
Yes, it does.
Okay, and so maybe I'm oversimplifying things, but let's say you're ready to leave in the morning and you're going such and such, you say, well, I want to hit a Starbucks so far, and you just hit OnStar and say, can you make that come up for me on my trip? Or,
Yep.
while you're en route and you get hungry and you want to find a Hardee's, hit OnStar again, and they'll just throw the next Hardee's up.
Absolutely. You can do that because you have a valid OnStar subscription. I do not. So I'm doing this. There are many people, some tinfoil hat wearing, some others not, that don't like OnStar intervening in their life.
Okay. And what about the app, you know, because it'll let you look up your destination?
Only while it's valid, only with a valid subscription. It will also let you go to Yahoo Maps and pre-route a trip and send it to the car if you have a valid OnStar subscription. I'm tending to steer away from that during the course of these presentations because ultimately someone is going to let their OnStar expire by choice or by mistake. So I want people to understand what the system can do without that. Because this would be a very, very short presentation. It would be your rearview mirror, and it would be the OnStar button, and say whatever you want, and they'll do it.
Well, like I said, it's probably oversimplifying things.
No, not at all. It's a comfort zone for a lot of people. People love OnStar. It's very digital. People either love or hate OnStar. I don't have an impression one way or the other of it. It's just an added fee, and it's one more person reaching into my wallet every month for some reason. So as a result, I elected not to keep my OnStar subscription. So please don't steal my car because I won't get it back. I don't have OnStar. They can't track it. I don't get vehicle reports. I have to change my own oil. So, woe is me. Yes?
I'm sort of an ignorant person on this.
That's an awful way to start a question.
I put in the address.
Yes, sir.
The address comes up. And then what button do I push to get the route? I haven't a clue.
Table that. I will circle back to that, I promise. I'm just going to show you. It's a,
Let's say I want to go from here to the address in Kansas City. I put the address in.
Yep.
It comes up.
yep.
What the hell do I do after
You
that?
press go in the top left corner of the keyboard screen.
Go up there.
You don't.
All right.
Here, focus here.
It'll set up the route,
Absolutely.
and that's it?
That's if you've typed in an address. Be careful. It won't work if you put in pizza.
No.
If you put in pizza, you still need to pick one. So you would need to pick one from this list. On your next screen, it's going to give you the name and address of the POI, and down the bottom is going to say go or save. If you press that go, it calculates the route, sends it to the nav, displays it on the screen, changes the color of the roads that you're going to be asked to drive on, and that's it. So it's always the go button. It's either this go button and then the other go button, or this go button, that, and then the go button. You're very welcome. Absolutely. Yep. Pizza, comma, space, zip code, go, and it will give you zip codes. It will give you pizza places by zip code, not zip codes by pizza. Seafood. If you feel like having seafood, put in seafood, and it'll do the exact same thing. If it has seafood in their POI name or description or account notes, so you can see some of these places make sense. Corky Bell's, very good seafood, but it doesn't say seafood anywhere, but it's there. So you can do that with a lot of different categories. You can type in hamburgers, you can type in pizza, you can type in seafood. You can type in Mexican food, you can type in Chinese food. So if you want to delimit your search that way, you can. That is absolutely correct. Yep, everything that I am showing you today is all built into the MyLink navigation system in your car. And that's precisely why, because I want to make sure that I don't cross over into the things that OnStar can do versus not. So this is all non-OnStar subscriber. Yes, sir?
Paul, as you've gone through the screen, the upper right hand where it says exit
Yes.
and the icon,
Yes.
sometimes I see an E, sometimes I see an N. Why is it different?
East or north?
Well, I know what that means, but what is it? Why does it show there differently?
Because that's the way you're pointing.
Thank you. Okay.
Yep. It literally is compass specific. So if you're facing east, it will truncate east versus north.
So since I know compass directions, I'll never get lost in the woods, will I?
Nope, perfect. And actually, you can bring up your latitude and longitude and see exactly where you are if you happen to drive off-road and need to call for help. Or if you did it intentionally. I don't want to go there. Just like we talked about with POIs, you can define seafood along route, seafood at another location, seafood nearby. I didn't actually put the screen in my presentation, but I found some great seafood restaurants in Honolulu. Can't drive there, I know that. Wish I could. Searching via any method, by typing in that name, by bringing up just the POI list, by putting in a zip code, it's always going to generate a list of POI categories. So fuel and auto and food and nightlife and travel and lodging. Selecting any of those categories will generate the POI list. So selecting on travel and lodging, I've already asked it to search in Bowling Green. And here is the list by proximity of where I was at the time I was doing this search. So the closest hotel to where I was this Best Western Hills, 3.1 miles away, and on down. So by proximity, by category is the search result that's returned. Way back on the keyboard, I did, that particular search was done at search by refining search near. I changed that one to destination, then the keyboard comes up and I typed in the zip code and hit enter. And more detail again in the tutorial versus what we're getting in the slide today. These are teasers. These are intended to pique your curiosity and let you know what you may not have known the system is capable of, and hopefully just give you some quick tips that will make the system more usable when you walk out of the theater today. So it's a mid-level look at what the system can do. You can drill a lot deeper. I'm not touching on voice activation because voice activation is one of those very touchy topics that people love it or hate it, and I don't want you to throw anything at me. So, yes? Oh, no, it absolutely talks. And it can talk in different languages too, but I don't know that that has any bearing on this conversation. No, it will have that on by default. Is yours not talking to you?
Volume, adjust the volume.
Yeah. It's the volume knob. If the GPS is speaking and you turn the volume knob, you're adjusting the navigation voice volume, but there is actually also a menu for navigation voice preference where you can adjust that manually. And if you want to adjust the radio volume separate from that, just don't do it while the GPS is speaking, because that volume command is interactive between those two modes of audible information. So if the GPS is speaking or chiming and you happen to turn the volume knob at that time, you're only going to adjust the GPS volume. If it's not speaking and you want to adjust the GPS volume, you're only going to adjust the radio or the MP3 or SD card or whatever it is that you're playing at that time.
Can I ask one more basic question on this?
Of course.
Can you zoom in and out of the map by turning the knob like on most systems?
No, you cannot.
And what about by pinching? Or
You can by pinching in and out. Yep, it will interact with those keystrokes.
One more question?
Yes, sir.
The references to zip code, I mean, I don't memorize zip codes. Is it the system that help you find a zip code in a certain location?
You can type in the city name, but if you spell it wrong or space it wrong, that's where trouble starts. I try, as a rule, when I'm putting contacts in my phone or if I'm looking something up, I always include the zip code in the contact. So if I'm entering it or if I searched on it, I always try to reference the zip code, only because I know that that trick works. I didn't always do that. Prior to starting working on the GM nav systems, I wasn't as concerned with zip codes. I used a lot of Garmin's where it asks you to enter a city, and it will only return a good city result, but if you know that's the city and it keeps coming up saying no results found, it gets frustrating. So I always just try to help it along by doing that. I see your hand.
We're at the hour mark. You want to keep moving on this and
Sure.
questions at the end?
Yeah, we are on slide, oh dear. We're going to move faster. Okay, this was to a question that was asked earlier. Points of interest, form versus function. Exact same navigation screen, 1/2 mile apart. Zoom out to 1 mile and POIs go away. Zoom into a 1/2 mile, they come back. 1/2 mile and less, they display. 1/2 mile and greater, they don't. The default is points of interest on. You actually have to turn them off if you don't want them. A lot of people don't like them. I live by them because they're all interactive. Their icons all mean something, and it is their best approximation of what it represents. So this is a bank. So it's a little dollar sign. It's not my account, but mine has a little change symbol there. But if you press on it, it will give you an info box about the POI, which you can select as a destination. You can select as a waypoint. It will bring up a phone number that you can call, all while you're driving, all without somebody in the passenger seat. And this is something that I pushed really hard for folks that had the C6 navigation system, because you had very, very limited access. very limited ability to interact with the C6 navigation system when you were moving. The C7 is better, and I always tell people, be careful what you wish for when you're talking to that GM engineer and you're complaining about something. Be very deliberate, be very specific. Everyone used to lie to the GM engineers and say that, well, my wife is in the car. I have no reason why I shouldn't be able to interact with the map. So they put a passenger proximity sensor in the seat and said, all right, if your wife's in the car, now you can interact with the map. Every other GPS in the world, Garmin's or TomTom's or any of those, you can interact, because if you're doing it, it's your choice, because GM has a much larger legal department with a larger axe to grind. You can't until you acknowledge that what you're about to do is dangerous, which I think is more dangerous than just letting me do it, because this screen comes up and I have to agree to it all the time. But everybody that asked for the ability to interact with the navigation system when a passenger was present, congratulations, you got what you asked for. So for the next one, when you're meeting with those guys, if you go out and meet with Pranav and Jason, they're not doing navigation, but make sure that you can have as much interaction with the system as possible when you're alone in the car, because some percentage of the time you're going to be alone and you're going to want to do something and you're not going to be able to. So we're all adults. Hopefully those things start to free up when we can do them. Waypoints. Very quickly, a waypoint is simply another destination, but you are putting it in the middle of where you are and where you are going. So it's a via point. If you want to stop at a restaurant that's between where you are and the museum in Bowling Green, or if you want to stop at a hotel for the night that's a part way on your journey, you simply enter your destination, get route guidance going for that destination, and then do it all again. Type destination, type in another request for destination, and it's going to say, oh, wait a minute, you're currently going someplace. What do you want me to do with what you just asked me to do? Do you want to add it as a waypoint, or do you want to set it as a new destination? If you set it as a new destination, it's going to wipe out where you're going currently, and it's going to change all of the information to going to your new address. If you add it as a waypoint, it's going to drop it in the middle of your trip. And what's neat about waypoints is you can optimize them. If you've got 5 places that you need to stop, you don't need to worry about the best way to do it. You can enter them as they come to you, enter them, alphabetically, however you would choose to do so. And if you press the optimize button, it will route the trip in the best, most time economical way to get you to all of those places and then ultimately to your destination. Yes?
So if I have 5 waypoints, I have to keep putting in the destination 5 different times to get entered?
You have to enter, I want to make sure I was cautious with what I said. You have to enter the address of the waypoint.
While the other one's active?
While the other one's active. So every single one, as long as you enter the address and add it as a waypoint when it asks you that question, it will keep your destination, it'll keep all the previous waypoints. And as I was saying, you can put them in any order, it doesn't matter, and then you can optimize them, or you can just drive all willy-nilly wherever you want to go. Yes?
Is there a limit to how many waypoints you can have?
I believe that it will take 10.
The old system was 5.
Yeah, 5 in the C6. This is the C7. We can double that now. Saving a destination. I talked about this before. This is your go button. So once you've put it in the keyboard, it said go from the keyboard, it's going to just ask you to confirm one more time, and it's going to give you whatever information it can give you. If this was actually a POI, you can hit that plus and get information about where you're going, the phone number, so on. But just to go there and cause it to generate a route, just press go. Yes, ma'am?
When you save it, can you name tag it?
You can. Yep. When you press save, type or select it, press the favorite chevron in the lower right-hand corner. That'll bring up the menu. This will bring up your favorites menu, so you can enter it as a favorite button, okay? And I'm going to walk through a little bit backwards. But if you press, this will let you put it in as a favorite. So press and hold or scroll to the favorite you want to get to. Or you could save it as a vehicle contact. Yes.
Back up one slide.
Yes.
So you hit the save button.
Well, for this screen, no. I was starting to answer a question, but then realized the slide that I was on was pertinent to saving it as a favorite. Your, what I call the radio buttons, your favorite buttons that you can get at, up to 60 of them displaying on the screen. Press that anywhere you see it. And a little trick that some people don't know is you can swipe up on the screen from the very bottom. If you swipe up, that will cause that menu to pop up as far as you've allowed it to pop up. If you say auto display, it's only going to display one row, and then you can scroll through them. If you said display 15, it'll give you 3 rows. Careful if you said display 60, because it will give you a lot of buttons and very little map screen. Sir?
I don't know if you're gonna get to this later, but the main reason I came is I save all of my destinations as a preset button on my radio.
Okay, that's those.
And I wanna know what the keystrokes are. I've got the destination in, I hit save,
Don't.
done. Okay.
If you want to save it as a contact, you hit the save. If you want to make it a favorite, these are the 3 screens that you need right here.
Now,
Break,
you're talking about the presets on the radio.
right here. Yep, these.
The 60 presets, okay.
These, okay? If you press that chevron, this comes up from this screen. If you're on a destination screen, okay, that's imperative. You've entered your destination, you're about ready to hit go, and you want to go someplace, but you decided that before I go there, I want to save it.
Night before, I'm gonna enter.
Perfect. Press get there, so you see this screen with the go, the call, the save. That will bring up the chevron. That's a menu key. Press the chevron, that will bring up your favorites, and then scroll to wherever you want to put it, and press and hold it. So
How do I delete one out of favorites?
you have to go back and manage your favorites. You can't delete, yes ma'am. Coming. I think the next slide is managing favorites. No, it's 2 away, but.
That's where you would delete it.
Yeah, the very, very first thing you would do is it's going to go in. So you see 1619 WG Tally Road, and you see here I have nothing in menu position 7, but when I press and hold menu position 7, I now have 1619 WG Tally Road. So now it is saved as a favorite, but it's saved as the address. You can manage your favorites. So when you go to the main settings menu, manage, radio, settings, radio, manage favorites is the menu sequence to get there. This screen will come up. You select the one that you want to manage. You can drag them around, press and hold one, and you can move it to another location. Or there is a rename button. Once you have selected it, press rename, type in whatever you want, Mom's house, Bill's house, Joe's bar, whatever you want to call it other than the address, hit enter, and that will rename it that way. That's under radio manage presets. Okay?
Question, so the way you have Cracker Barrel up there with the phone number and the address,
Yes.
you save it as a favorite, how does it know whether to save the address versus the phone number?
It knows by how you asked it to show you the information. So in this particular case, I asked it for a POI destination. So it's working in terms of that information. So when I save this, it's going to have saved it with the tag that it's a destination. If I had gotten to there through the phone menu, it will know that it was a phone request, and it will save it as a phone.
And how does it label it as a phone versus a...
The default label will be the POI's phone number or the POI's address. So like I did previously, so the 1619 WG Tally, and that came up on the menu button here. it would put the phone number there, or it will put the descriptor. If it was a contact, for example, it will put the descriptor. If it's my wife's cell phone, it would say Becky's cell. Good there? Yes? From here, out to the main menu where all the basic icons are, hit the gear wheel settings icon, hit radio, manage favorites. When you're on this screen down the bottom, you'll see rename or delete. You're welcome. 15? Okay. Oh, yeah, this screen. Manage favorites. Done, rename, or delete. Select one, rename it, delete it, or if you want to change its location, press and hold it and drag it just to another location anywhere that's displayed on the screen. Delete. You can't drag it to the trash can. You actually have to make the deliberate stroke of hitting the delete button. In the back.
On some early 14s, you can't get all 15 boxes to show up. It's software flash dealer, no charge.
Yes, thank you. I'm past that and I forgot about it, but yes. So if you can't get there, that's why. But if you leave it set on auto, you can always scroll sideways through them. It just won't display this way.
How do we get those to stay on there versus go back down to the chevron?
You can ask it to display a default number more, and then it will always put, if you ask it to display 15, it will always put these on your screen. I promise it makes navigation a challenge. But if you don't care about that, or if you've got a MyLink system that doesn't have navigation, and you just want your favorites up on the screen, you can ask it to display 15, or you can swipe them up and leave them there.
So the 15 is total, so between radio and any favorites that you save in,
This actually, you can store MP3s, you can store phone contact information, you can store addresses, you can store radio station favorites. If your XM is active, you can store XM. So this will, well, as you see here, I have an address. I have an XM branded station. I have an XM numerical station. I have an FM station. So it's mixed media type. So anything that you can interact with on your radio, you can store to one of those buttons for a quick press. If you've got a song that if you want to hear, give me a song. Any song. If you want to hear that every time you get in the car and you want quick access to it, play it, save it, drive away, and hit the button. Okay. When you are on that list, the screen that says go or save, go will take you there. Save will allow you to save it. You can save it as a new contact. You can add it to an existing contact. And that's a vehicle contact, not a phone contact. So this will save it to the default list on the radio, independent of what you have on your phone. So your phone is out of the picture at this point. This is strictly vehicle contacts. The nice difference here is if there's multiple people using the vehicle and you have common places that you need to go, save it as a vehicle contact. So if you get in the driver's seat, it's always there. If your partner gets in the driver's seat, it's always there. Versus having to worry about whose phone is paired to the device. Saving it as a vehicle contact is a nice feature. You can edit or rename all of those things. It's a little bit more of a painful process than I had hoped for, saving a vehicle. Yes, ma'am.
How do you rename that?
Actually, right here from this part, when you go to edit, you select the contact, and then a keyboard will come up. So here you're displaying an address, okay? Yeah. If you're in the Manage Favorites screen, which this is, if you're on the Manage, you select Edit Contacts, and that will bring up this list. You select the contact, you press on that, and the keyboard will come up, and that will be auto-filled in, and you can backspace over it, erase it, type whatever you want. Hit enter, it'll bring you back to this screen, except now the new name will be here, and press save.
Okay.
So radio, manage favorites, And that'll bring you to the choices where you can arrange and manage contacts. Edit contacts will bring you to where you can edit and change the naming convention on vehicle saved contacts. Yes, sir.
Does GM have any kind of a, like, if you ever have your battery disconnected, does all that go away?
It does not.
Okay.
Yeah, it is non-volatile, so all of your favorites and all of that should stay if your battery goes tired.
Great.
So what if you let XM expire, and then you renew it later on with your previous favorites, they'll be in the system?
Yes, they will. And I'm a living, breathing example of that. I wasn't paying attention to my subscription timeline, and it lapsed, and I reactivated my XM, but I chose not to activate the XM music portion. All of my XM radio favorites are still there. It just all take me now to the preview screen because you can't enter any of those radio stations with a non-valid subscription, but they are alive and well in my favorites list.
Paul,
Yes?
am I right in saying that the vehicle favorites and the radio favorites are like two different files?
Not entirely.
But I mean, they're two different entities, so there is a distinction between vehicle favorites and radio favorites, is that right?
It's the word favorites that's throwing me. Because the favorites are one file and they're mixed mode, so you can put a contact or an address or a song or a radio station as a favorite. Contacts, where we were just talking a little bit about saving. If you go to a phone number, down the bottom it says call or save. If you press save, that goes to vehicle contacts. That is separate from favorites. And if you have an address up on that screen and it'll say go or save and you press save, it will create a contact, but it's separate from favorites. So you have a couple of different ways that you can store frequently accessed information. One is contacts, vehicle contacts, and one is favorites. So those are two distinctly separate things. But favorites, if we're gonna qualify with the word favorite, they're all exactly the same. That's that mixed mode menu that comes up from the chevron or from dragging up from the bottom of the screen. Okay, this is fun stuff. You can edit the POI list and you can add points of interest. And you can do that by knowing the latitude and longitude of where you need to go. And I have it, we're definitely not going to get to it here, but it gives you the ability to enter latitude and longitude information. That's important because we used to have it in the C6. There are people that live in rural locations that don't have very, very good street address information, but can be accessed via latitude and longitude. So if you know that information, there is a way to append that file. You will create your own category at the very bottom of the point of interest list that's named My POIs. And it will allow you to access those the same way you do any other POI. And they appear on the list by geographic proximity. So within 110 miles of your location, if one of your POIs is there, it will be on your list. Or you can ask it to search another location, and then it will appear if you ask it to search that area. So much like the Garmin, you've got to tell it where you want it to look. It won't look for a favorite restaurant in California if you're in Key West. It just thinks that's ridiculous. It's not going to look that far out. Also, the system can work with your smartphone's voice recognition system. I can interact with my iPhone's Siri. I can ask it to read me my texts. I can ask it to read me my emails. I can compose an email and send it to somebody, all with spoken words. A lot of people aren't familiar with that capability. The 15s and up will have an SMS button on their screen, but for us lucky 14 owners, we have a microphone that simply interacts with your smartphone's voice system. So you can press that and the familiar chime of Siri will come over your radio, and Siri, check my text, Siri, check my email, Siri, compose an email. It can do all of that while I'm driving. It actually does it with very, very high accuracy. It's better than the vehicle's voice recognition system within its own system as far as commanding it to do things. So that's just a little tidbit. There is a tutorial on how to do that. I have videos out on my website on how to do that. You do not. Nope, you should see a little microphone icon. We were talking about traffic. We were talking about XM and a valid subscription. Big asterisk, you have to have a valid XM subscription. The roads are in the center, the green lines on the outside are traffic condition. If there's an incident, it will give you an icon of what the incident is, and it will highlight that part of the road in red to alert you. If you're driving along under route guidance, it will tell you there are traffic disruptions ahead. You can bring up the traffic menu, you can view what the disruption is, and you have the option to avoid it if you want to. You can ask it to reroute you around the delay. Navigation weather, one of my favorite things. There is a live Doppler radar map on the weather app. If you have route guidance underway, it's always nice to see what you're about to drive into and make your decisions. Weather alerts will appear on the radio itself. If you're driving through an area that's raining and there's a flash flood warning, it will actually pop up on your nav screen that there's a weather alert, and then you can press that and go to it. Again, requires a valid XM subscription. If you've let your trial subscription to XM expire, these features are not available on your radio, so you have to get one of the lower packages, and you can maintain a subscription to navigation weather or nav traffic without a music subscription, and it's available in multi-year. And I don't have anything to do with XM. I like these features, so that's why I'm including it. They're very useful when you're navigating. Same thing, fuel prices and entertainment information. If you touch a gas station, you will get its distance to you, and it will tell you the price per gallon that they're currently advertising for their fuel. So if you want to shop by price, you can. It's not quite to the level of Fuel Buddy. It doesn't update as fast as some of the apps that you can put on your phone, but it's quite reliable. I did, however, one trip ago pull into a gas station that hadn't been opened in probably 10 years, so I'm not sure why they were still on the list. Tumbleweeds, broken glass, no pumps. And when I saw that they were selling gas for $1.79 a gallon, I probably should have known at that point. Same thing, if you bring up movie cinemas in the entertainment portion of the list, you can get the local theaters showing times and prices. I'll save you the pain of the comparison between the C6 and the C7, just because we're running out of time and I want to make sure I get through the last little bit. It's going to be an easier to use system than the C6 was. It is more intuitive. I know it doesn't seem it even from my foibles up here on the stage today, but I promise it's considerably easier to interact with. It's more intuitive than the C6 system was once you start touching buttons. It has expanded feature set with the weather, with the traffic, with better voice guidance, with the interactive map and the POI, the ability to work with it while you're driving with a passenger. You're going to have to invest some effort into learning the system for sure. I think that's evident. The fact that folks are still attending my seminars on the navigation continues to remind me that we're not all the way there yet. That address there, theredlion.us, is my personal website. All of this stuff is always on my website. Anything that you can get off of the CD that I have available, anything that I've talked about, the videos of all of my presentations are all there, so if you want to go review and refresh, you always can. That brings us to the end, and I want to talk about one more thing. If you want to update your navigation, you do it just like you used to. Go to gmnavdis.com. It's $159. It is a USB module. You tell them your VIN number. They will attach that VIN number to that USB stick. It is a one-use only stick. It is linked to your car, so you can't copy it, you can't share it with friends, you can't buy one for your club and pass it around. It's going to take about 30 to 60 minutes, probably closer to 60 minutes to do the install. You can drive the vehicle. The vehicle should be running while you're doing it. You can drive the vehicle while the update is taking place, but navigation features will not be available. So
How often are the updates done?
they're going to come roughly at the end of each year. So the end of October, you're basically going to see a new part number become available. So it tends to be once per year, and that's how you know it's a different part number. The part number for the 15s is 234-96379. That part number will change. You can always look at, in the system menu on your vehicle, you can always look at what your map disk part number is, because partway through the 14 model year to the 15, 15s will carry the first part number for a couple of months until it becomes available towards the end of the year. So there's a lot of rollover. You've only ever been promised to get a map set up with your vehicle, but if you bought a 15, you may still have the 14 part number, so it's worth looking at that, and that trend will continue going forward. Yes, sir?
What happens if you never update that, or purchase the update? What's the worst thing that happens?
You will probably start to find some invalid information. It will not have addresses that you're looking for. It may have POIs, restaurants, for example, that no longer exist.
Our filling station's been closed for 10 years.
Fake sneeze, okay. And that's it. That is the worst thing that's going to happen. Your system won't explode. It won't eventually stop working. None of that. It just means that the information will likely become less and less accurate over time. If you move into a new subdivision, for example, you will experience it sometimes with the current part number. It takes as long as 3 years for a database update to happen. So if you're in a new house on a street that didn't exist before, you're going to have a vacant lot on the map screen because they don't update that quickly. So if you're thinking about updating and there's a particular address that you want to find out, I would recommend that you find somebody that has the updated and check to make sure it's in there before you spend your hard-earned money.
Does that ever go on sale?
Yes, yeah, it will eventually. I don't like to talk to pricing because I've been wrong so many times. But when the next one comes out, the current one typically drops a little bit.
Is there a reason why, when I went to use my navigation system the first time, I couldn't type in an address? I had to verbally tell it where I wanted to go in order for it to enter it into my system. Is there a reason why I couldn't?
No, that's just an issue with the human-machine interface, the touch screen. So it wasn't recording touches for some reason.
I had to verbally tell it the address in order for it to go in.
That's not normal. There's absolutely no reason, there is no validity behind that in terms of how the system is designed to operate.
Paul, is that the same CD that gave me
Yes.
August?
No, if it's from August, it's a little bit different. It has more stuff on it.
But you can get it on your website.
You can get it on the website, every piece of it. I do not. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Question, because I had an issue with that. That's rather pricey, and I know you don't do pricing, but $160 every year is a bit steep. So I was going to take the track that maybe I would do it every other year. Or something
Absolutely,
like that,
yeah.
Because I can always verify with my phone.
Absolutely.
I mean, for $160, I'll do it for 50, 60, 70, but 160, and I sent an email to Harlan Charles, and he
Sure.
agreed with me that it's
Sure.
pricey, but he says he's not in control. That's a third party.
Yeah, it
I
is,
said, GM's
unfortunately.
a very powerful company.
Well, and this, you know,
Work
this
with
is
a third
this,
party.
this is the thing, and better than that, we have a lot more leverage now with respect to this because the MyLink